Hello, I'm Larry Wilson, and welcome to the Wake Up broadcast for February 2004. Today we're going to continue our investigation into the subject of the 4 rules of prophetic interpretation. Specifically, we're going to look at Rule 4. Before we look at Rule 4, I want to tell you that a big picture is made up of many little parts. And sometimes we can become so focused on little parts that we fail to see the big picture. The book of Daniel and the book of Revelation, when put together, have over 200 parts in there. And it takes a little while to understand each part, to see how each part links to the other parts, and the corporate picture that they make when assembled and put all together. I want you to consider that we're going to be talking about prophetic timing, and it's a very big picture. And in some places, it's a complicated picture. But if you persevere, if you hang in there, if you keep searching and researching the Word of God, all the pieces will come together in perfect harmony. Because truth is really proven by the harmony that comes from the sum of all of its parts. So today we're going to examine timing. We're working on our understanding of prophetic timing. And I want to, in this segment, begin working on the big picture, and then we'll work our way down into the little picture once you have an understanding of where we're going. First of all, let's go to the computer and let's look at Daniel chapter 12, verses 9 and 10. Gabriel replied to Daniel. This is when Daniel, at the end of the book of Daniel, he said, "Go your way, Daniel, because the words, that is the words of this book that you've written, the words of your visions, are closed up and sealed until the time of the end." The words are closed up and sealed until the time of the end. Now, while you're contemplating that, let me draw a little picture for you on my little chalkboard here. Daniel is having this vision around 535 BC, and Gabriel comes to him and says, "Daniel, all that you have seen and written down in your book is sealed up until the time of the end." Now, of course, down through the ages, the apostles thought they were living at the time of the end. The church fathers, like Augustinian, thought he was living at the time of the end. Martin Luther and other Protestants thought they were living at the time of the end. But here we are in the year 2004, and we have to ask ourselves, are we living in the time of the end? Every generation has said, Jesus is coming soon. Wolf, wolf, wolf. Of course, Jesus didn't return during the time of the disciples, nor the time of the early church fathers, nor the time of the Protestant Reformation. And here we are at 2004, and he still hasn't returned. So Christians have been giving a false wolf, wolf cry, you could say, over the past 2,000 years. Now, does this mean that that Jesus won't return? Does this mean that we can't possibly know when he will return? Well, there's one interesting thing to consider. There is a book of the Bible that is sealed up for the appointed time of the end. And you can say, well, Larry, how do you know that 2004 is near the appointed time of the end? How, everyone prior to this year have said, yes, we're living near the end of time. Jesus is coming soon. But what makes 2004 any different than these previous time periods and centuries? How do you know that another 2 centuries or 3 centuries or 20 centuries won't go by? Well, that's a fair question. That's a reasonable question. And I have an answer for you. In the book of Daniel, there are some time periods. And there, in fact, in the books of Daniel and Revelation, there are a total of 18 time periods. And when you put these time periods together and you lay them all out, they form a very comprehensive picture. These time periods are fixed units of time. They are not, they're like a yardstick. They're fixed in length. And we have a prophecy in the Bible that reaches all the way down to 1844, 2,300 years. We have a prophecy in Revelation that's 1,000 years in length. Well, right there is 3,300 years. The point that I'm going to show you as we begin this study on prophetic timing is that there is a way to know, and only the book of Daniel proves it, that we today, in the year 2004, are living near the time of the end. The 18 apocalyptic time periods tell us that. When you put them all together, an amazing picture is going to form. So let's go back to the computer screen. Gabriel said, Daniel, the words are closed up and sealed until the time of the end. Now watch this next verse. Many will be purified, made spotless and refined, but the wicked will continue to be wicked. In other words, there will never be a wholesale conversion of the planet. The wicked will remain wicked. And none of the wicked will understand the words of your book. But those who are wise will understand. That's an interesting point, isn't it? The wicked will not understand, but those who are wise. What does this mean? Just because you're a bad person that you won't understand? No, that's not really what it's saying, although that is the outcome. What it really is saying is that if your heart is open to the Spirit, then the Spirit will show you the truths that are sealed in Daniel. Many will be purified, made spotless and refined, but the wicked will continue to be wicked, and none of the wicked will understand. But those who are wise will understand. We know that God sealed up the book of Daniel until the appointed time of the end because He has something unique to say to the final generation. In a nutshell, the message that has been sealed up for 2,600 years is a memo from Jesus that goes something like this. I've written this down in a memo form. Okay, so here's the memo. The date is approximately 534 BC. It is addressed to the inhabitants of earth who live in the 21st century. That's us. The memo begins, "Greetings from your Maker." Now, understand that I have distilled the entire books of Daniel and Revelation into a one-paragraph memo. So take this with a grain of salt, but here's the point. Greetings from your Maker. You have been chosen to live at the appointed time of the end. I am pleased to present you with a roadmap explaining what I am about to do. Please study the roadmap and be prepared. See you soon, Jesus Christ, who is King of Kings and Lord of Lords. That's the memo. I am pleased to present you with a roadmap explaining what I am about to do. Please study the roadmap and be prepared. The roadmap in Daniel and Revelation unfolds as the four rules are applied to the texts, the Scriptures. If we understand the rules, a matrix of events will form, and the roadmap will make perfect sense. Rule 4 makes an enormous contribution to the matrix. Rule 4 says this: God measures apocalyptic time in two ways: a day for a year and as literal time. The presence or absence of the Jubilee calendar, God's calendar, determines how God measures time. Let's remember, God is the one who has defined the yardsticks called time periods. He's the one who defined them and set them by His own authority. Some time periods are to be interpreted using a day for a year, and some time periods are to be interpreted as literal time. And how do we know which is which? The answer is rather simple. It comes from the book of Daniel. The presence or absence of the Jubilee calendar determines how God measures time. I will say a lot more about this as we go into our study. I'm just introducing you to Rule 4 because this rule determines how time is measured, accounted, determined. The book of Daniel mentions 6 apocalyptic time periods. 3 of these are translated using the Jubilee calendar, and 3 of these are not. In Daniel 7:25, there's a time, times and half a time. In Daniel 8:14, there's 2,300 days. And in Daniel 9:24, there are 70 weeks. These 3 time periods are translated using the Jubilee calendar so that a day represents a year. In Daniel 12:7, we have a time, times, and half a time. In Daniel 12:11, we have 1,290 days. And in Daniel 12:12, we have 1,335 days. These 3 time periods are not translated. They are literal time. So 3 are translated, 3 are not. I'll explain this in more detail. I just want you to get acquainted with some of the yardsticks that are found in the book of Daniel and Revelation. Revelation has 12 apocalyptic time periods. 2 of them are translated a day for a year, and 10 of them are not. We have a time, times, and half a time, and 1,260 days in Revelation 12. We have 42 months in Revelation 11. We have 42 months in Revelation 13. We have 1,260 days in Revelation 11. We have 5 months in Revelation 9. We have 3.5 days in Revelation 11. In Revelation 9, we have a very specific point in time, a punctiliar moment, a specific hour, day, month, and year. We have other time periods, an hour, a half hour in Revelation 8:1. We have 1,000 years in Revelation 20. We have 1 day in Revelation 18. We have 12 time periods in the book of Revelation, and 2 of them are translated using the Jubilee calendar, and 10 of them are not. Altogether, there are 18 prophetic time periods in Daniel and Revelation. Each time period is a yardstick having a fixed length, and each time period contributes valuable information to our overall understanding of God's timing for our salvation. I rarely say anything profound, but look at this. Each time period is a yardstick having a fixed length, and each time period contributes valuable information to our understanding of God's timing for our salvation. Why are these yardsticks in Bible prophecy? You know, preachers often denounce any investigation into the timing of the second coming with a single text. Oh, they love this text. Verse 36, Matthew 24. Jesus said, "No one knows about that day or hour, not even the angels in heaven, nor the Son, but only the Father." I run into preachers all the time who insist that this text is an eternal verity that can never and will never change. No one will ever know the day or the hour, not even the angels, not even the Son of God, but only the Father. Now think about that for a minute. Jesus himself will never know the day of his return. That's nonsense. The Bible clearly says differently. When Jesus spoke these words in Matthew 24, this was true. But it will not always be true. A time is coming when the angels in heaven will know, and the Son will know, and in fact everyone in the universe will know. Let me say again, it is true that no one knows the day or the hour of Christ's return at the present time, but this will soon change. Before I tell you why, let me ask you a couple of questions. If the timing of the second coming is to forever remain a secret, why? And this is a critical question. Why did God put 18 yardsticks of prophetic timing in Daniel and Revelation? You have to answer the question. You can't just sit there with your, a wrinkle on your brow. If the timing of the second coming is to forever remain a secret, a mystery, unknown, why did God put 18 yardsticks of fixed length, prophetic time periods, in the books of Daniel and Revelation, and then seal up Daniel? Number two, what is the point of measuring 18 spans of time in Daniel and Revelation if they have nothing to do with the timing of the second coming? What's the point? Why would God give us 18 yardsticks to measure the progression of time if they have nothing to do with the second coming? Why would he seal up the book of Daniel until the time of the end if these prophetic time periods and all of these things have nothing to do with the second coming? What's the point of all this? We cannot ignore these two questions because the presence of 18 apocalyptic time periods demands your response. Why did God put them there? What is their purpose? I want to make three statements. Let's go back to the computer screen. The 18 prophetic time periods in Daniel and Revelation were deliberately created, defined, and positioned in prophecy. God did it. And he did this because they are clues indicating the consummation of all the ages. They indicate the timing of the second coming. This is why the book of Daniel was sealed up. This is the principal reason the book of Daniel is sealed up until the appointed time of the end. God doesn't want people knowing the timing of the second coming centuries in advance. It would destroy the Christian faith. So he has encouraged, given the disposition of human nature, all through the ages, God's servants and God's people have anticipated a soon return. As it's being proven, their cry of "wolf, wolf" was premature. It wasn't entirely useless. It wasn't entirely ineffective. But it was, and it is, premature. It may have encouraged people to keep looking and to keep watching and to keep waiting. But God didn't tell the disciples that 2,000 years would be forthcoming before He would return to earth, because it would have destroyed them. He didn't tell the saints who were persecuted for the times and half a time, the 1,260 years predicted in Daniel 7:25, because if He said, look, you've got 1,260 years of persecution coming, that would have killed the Christian movement. No. God had the book of Daniel sealed up until the appointed time of the end. And when the appointed time of the end arrives, God has the prophecies of Daniel and the timing and Rule 4 disclosed, revealed, and all of a sudden, we can put the pieces together and discover where we are with respect to the second coming. That's the story in a nutshell. That's what the book of Daniel is in a nutshell. It's a time capsule reserved for the final generation that will experience the second coming. Let's go back to the computer screen. This is my second statement. When properly assembled as a group, the 18 prophetic time periods, we're talking about time, which are fixed length time periods. These are yardsticks of specific lengths. When assembled properly as a group, all 18 of them harmoniously speaking to each other, fitting into the big picture properly, they declare a definitive statement about the timing of the second coming. When the 18, this is statement number 3 now, when the 18 prophetic time periods in Daniel and Revelation are viewed within their respective context. When you look at each of these prophecies individually, within their respective context, they position numerous events in a matrix which reveals the end-time roadmap. I'm saying, in plain English, that when the book of Daniel is unsealed, the final generation can figure out the end-time roadmap. They can figure out their location with respect to the second coming. They can see the big picture, and they can determine how close they are to the return of Jesus. Now, let me say at the same time that at this very present day, this is February 2004, no one knows the date of the second coming. However, this will change in a single day when the global earthquake in Revelation 8:5 occurs, because the distance between the global earthquake and the second coming is 1,335 days. The second coming, I want to open your mind to a new idea. The second coming is not a one-day event. The second coming is a great drama consisting of 14 acts There's the 7 trumpets and the 7 bowls. 14 acts in this drama. And Jesus physically appears in the 14th act, the 7th bowl. The second coming is a great drama that will unfold over a period of 1,335 days. That's why Daniel 12:12 says, "Blessed is the one who waits for and reaches the end of the 1,335 days." Blessed. You know, the number of people who will actually live through the Great Tribulation and see Christ come will be 50% of the world's population when the Great Tribulation starts. In other words, if the world's population is 6 billion at the beginning of the Great Tribulation, only 3 billion will be alive when Christ returns. 3 billion people will die in the 1,335 days. We've studied this before, and how that of the 3 billion left, 1/3 will be the righteous and 2/3 will be the wicked, and the wicked will all be wearing 666, which is 2/3, and will be destroyed. So the destruction of 5 billion people, if you will, from the time of the beginning of the 1,335 days to the second coming, you have the destruction of 5 billion people if the population is 6 billion when the Great Tribulation begins. It's quite a ponderous thing. Now, I'm excited about the nearness of the second coming, and of course, my enthusiasm offends a lot of people. But this goes with the territory, because I want you to notice what Peter had to say. Peter said, first of all, get this first, you must understand that in the last days, scoffers will come, scoffing and following their own evil desires. They will argue, they will lament, they will rebut, and they will snarl. Where is this coming he promised? Why, ever since our fathers died, everything goes on as it has since the beginning of creation. See, that's the argument. I hear it all the time. Larry, you're just barking in the wind. Well, I say that's exactly what 2 Peter 3:3 says. In the last days, scoffers will come, following their own evil desires. Daniel 12:10 says the wicked can't understand, so this is to be expected. Because the book of Daniel has been unsealed, I believe, at least there's no doubt in my mind, we're living at the appointed time of the end. Speaking of the end, this segment is over, and we will resume in just a moment.